Thank you so much for joining the Redington and Tableau session. Today's topic is about how Tableau helps organization mitigate the impact of COVID-19. And we have Jerry Paul, the product consultant in Redington Value, who will be running throughout the session. We hope we will provide you all the information required, and you can go to the Q&A button on the left. At the end of the session, we will answer all your queries. Also, please note that at the end of the session and after answering all your questions, we will run a short quiz. So I will talk about it in details after the session. So Jerry, over to you.
Thank you, Ragda. Just to make sure I'm audible, right?
Yeah, Jerry, proceed.
Awesome. Okay. So good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining this webinar today. It's such a pleasure to have this webinar. And firstly and foremost, I hope everyone's safe. Just today, we're based out of Dubai. I'm based out of Dubai, and it so happens that today they have lifted the lockdown here, and since we are addressing the whole issue of COVID, just be safe, and I hope that everyone's doing the necessary and taking the necessary precautions to be inside. Okay. So back to today's agenda. So today we'll discuss how Tableau will helps organization mitigate the impact of COVID-19. And now, just to recap a bit, we had a session last week as well, and to all of you who were not able to attend that session, we'll make sure that we send a link to the recording of the same in the follow-up mails. So I'll quickly recap about what Tableau stands for and the platform, right? And right before I do that, just wanted to emphasize on the fact that we're all playing with data, and data is a critical asset during this time to understand, track, and mitigate the impacts of this pandemic. COVID is constantly evolving, and organizations are relying on Tableau, believe me or not, to communicate with employees and customers. It also helps in understanding the overall business impact and stabilize the business operations as well. And all of this is to pave a path towards reopening and recovery. So just to recap, I'll give you a download of the platform. I'll quickly go through the Tableau platform, which we covered in the last webinar as well. So the sole notion on which Tableau was built was in the fact that Tableau helps people see and understand data, and that can help organizations make better decisions. And Tableau's mission has always been to ease the user's journey through self-service analytics. And Tableau also has a very vibrant community. So to start with, we have basically 4 products. Tableau Desktop is the most popular among the customers. This is where the content creation happens, which is on the desktop. A user can straight away jump into the analysis after connecting with the data sources. This is what you will see in the course of the demo that I'll be showcasing. Tableau Prep, on the other hand, is a product for data preparation. Users typically spend more time combining and aggregating data before they can start the analysis. This is what we often hear from the users. So Tableau Prep helps design the flows visually, helping the user to combine and shape disparate data sources, right? And Tableau Online and Tableau Server, both these products are cloud offerings. They're used for sharing content and collaboration. And this is both for internal and external use cases to the organizations. Now, while Tableau Server is apt for a user with their own on-premise or cloud infrastructure, Tableau Online is completely maintained and supported by Tableau. So that implies that you're already on the latest versions, and you do not have to worry about upgrades or support. It's always there from Tableau's end. Okay, coming to the real issue, COVID-19, right? So from the very beginning of the pandemic, partners have taken a proactive approach to supporting customers. We have seen an incredible amount of partner solutions emerge including various dashboards, dashboard templates, and extensions. And all of these can help you customers move quickly and confidently during this time and beyond. Now, these solutions cover a variety of industries and lines of businesses, and a lot of them are customizable. Now, that's the interesting part. You could tailor each solution to your organization's key performance indicators. We'll see a gist of that in the demo going forward. And of course, we talked about this curve in the last session, and people have been talking about that. So as we look forward to flattening that curve that you see right there, organizations today want to assess the impact of COVID on the business. How important is that with the flattening of the curve affect the business that they are in? So let's have a closer look, at an example here. We'll have a look at an organization and we'll see how employees are assessing the COVID situation. So in order to do that, let's take a use case. So meet Tom. He's the product manager of one of the most popular banks in the US. He's have a very good amount of experience. What the scenario being that he receives a mail from his management. The management is concerned with the fact that COVID is on the rise and it is actually affecting the business. So the management expects Tom to give them an answer, at least within a day, with the help of his team. Now, as soon as he receives this mail, right, being a product manager, he tends to right away start building up questions in his head in order to analyze the situation. A couple of things that crosses his mind is which region is the most affected by COVID, which region that his bank operates in, and is there a greater risk of customers defaulting in these areas because that's of prime importance to a bank? Should he be looking at customers with higher debt to income ratio? That's one of the key performance indicators that they monitor. Now, Tom also needs to understand if the situation is going to get worse. How does a trend look like? And if it's actually getting worse, should we consider reopening the offices? Right. So these are some of the questions that's built up in his mind. So if I were to put myself in the shoes of Tom, it would look something like this. This would be my mailbox, and I've received the mail from the management. I hope everyone can see this. If you have any difficulties, if there is a drag or lag, just let me know. So from here, I directly jump into what my management is trying to show me with the Wiz, right? So I open this on my browser, and this is the analysis that pops up. Now, this simply depicts the COVID cases across the states in US. I can see New York is really affected. California is also not doing so great. But the management wants to understand how does that impact our business? Now, a couple of challenges, of course, that I have is the fact that I don't have my team with me right now, and I need to do this on my own. So a good starting point would be to understand where the data is being fetched from. And thankfully, I have the data details tells me where the data source is and what the data source is, rather. So I'll jump right into that. And one key thing to note is that my team has already blended the data for me, along with the COVID data that's out there. That my team has been able to blend our company's data along with it so that I can go ahead and do my analysis. And it has been neatly arranged here as well. I can see the lineage, meaning the source, the databases and tables where the data is being sourced from, and the workbooks where it's being consumed. But I'm not going to deep dive into that. I'll right away start asking some questions with the data that I have. And in order to do that, I leverage Tableau's NLP feature, which is Ask Data. Now, as an instance to start with, I can ask, what are my average cases across regions, let's say. And what pops up is a visual gradient. Tableau tries to tell me that it's telling me that Northeast region is not doing so well with respect to the COVID cases. I could still go ahead and deep dive a little further. Maybe I want to understand which is the state that's been most affected by the COVID, right? So I can just ask which state is the most affected by COVID cases, and it quickly gives me a breakdown of my states, and it's sorted well, and I can understand that New York has been the most affected by COVID. Now, this is a good starting point for me. I can continue my analysis on this data exploration rather, but before that, I'll save this right on the browser, right? Let me rename this as COVID, let's say exploratory data analysis, so EDA, and save that. Now, one other thing that you will notice is that I'm doing all of this on the browser. Now, I do not have the desktop application installed on me. Now, if I have to continue doing my analysis, it is not a problem because Tableau allows for web authoring. I can go ahead and click on edit. My network is a little slow today, so excuse me for that. Well, let me just refresh that. Yeah. So what I see here is exactly how it would look like in a Tableau desktop application. Now, before I continue, I'd like to rename my sheet so that my team understands what I'm doing. So let me just name this COVID states. And that's good. And I'll just rename this as cases by region. Cases by region. Okay, that's good. Now, having understood which regions are affected and which state is the most affected by COVID, let me have a look at my business and some of the KPIs that I use to analyze my business, right? Now, I talked about the loan balance, the average balance that a customer has, which has to be repaid in the coming days. That's one of the things that I'm looking forward to. So if I were to look at that KPI here, I can see Tableau has nicely arranged it for me, different fields. And I see my loan balance here. So I'm going to choose that along with my geographical data. But this time I'm going to leverage Show Me. Now, Show Me is an inbuilt feature. It's a recommendation engine. It recommends different visuals to the user depending on the selections I make on the data pane. As an instance, if I were to look at different metrics here, you will notice how Show Me recommends different visuals. So in my case, I'm going to choose my loan balance and the geographical data, right? And it recommends a visual map here. So I'm going to choose that. And I quickly have a spread. And this was fast and flexible, right? I didn't have to do any kind of coding or scripting. Now, this is exactly what a user like me wants because I'm not technical in nature. And I can see where the spread is more, where it's more concentrated, right? California seems to be, there seems to be a lot of traction in California. So I'll keep this for now. I can even choose to reduce the granularity by simply taking out the county, right? If I just wanted to look at the state level, I could just drag that out and I could see this. Now, what pops up in my mind is California is not doing really great. So is Texas, right? Depending on the size of the bubble that's there. If I wanted to understand if it's really significant or not, I can leverage explain data, which is Tableau's statistical tool. What it does tell a user is list down a list of possible explanations as to what is significant and what is not. In this case, it tells me that a particular account has transacted with the bank and has a significant amount of loan balance remaining that's yet to be repaid. It even throws me the details of the particular account, what type of business it is, and I can see it's small business, it's not a personal loan. I can even have a look at the outliers, right? The records that actually make a significant difference in the loan amount. So I'm going to keep that onto the workbook because these are things that I can share with the team once they are available. I can share this with the data science team, my team of analysts who could maybe further work on this to give me more insights. So I'll go ahead and rename this. Just call it map, balance remaining. That's fine. One of the other KPIs that I'm interested to look at is the debt to income ratios. Because the higher the debt to income ratio of a customer, the more likely is he to default. So going by that hypothesis, I could pull out my debt to income ratio metric. And I have a nice spread here already done by the data team. I could have a look at my number of accounts, rather the count of accounts, and I have inbuilt calculations in there, so I do not have to do any kind of coding there as well. I'll do a bit of formatting just to have a clear look at the spread. Yeah, that's fine. So what this tells me is that the distribution of customers for a corresponding debt to income ratio value is more or less symmetrical, right? It's not skewed towards the left or right. Now that's good news because I do not want many customers on the higher side of debt to income ratios. Anything above 24, 25 is actually in a very risk zone. So I'll keep this for now. I'll rename this to debt to income ratio. Yeah, that's fine. And finally, one of the things that's still there in my mind is to understand how the trend has been with the cases across the regions. So if I were to look at the cases that have spanned across time, I'll bring in my cases, the COVID cases, and bring in my time or date. And you'll notice how Tableau already has an inbuilt hierarchy. Now I could change the granularity right here. I want to look at a day level scenario. So I'll change that to a day level granularity and have a look at the average number of cases, right? Again, I'll use the inbuilt calculations that's in there so that I do not have to do any scripting. So this is good. It gives me a trend line. However, I need to break this down into the regions that I have. So I'm going to search for my regions here. And there I have it. So all I'm doing is a simple drag and drop again. And it quickly breaks down the regions for me as well. Now, these are high level insights or observations that I have with my analysis. I'll quickly rename this as well, regional trend. Okay. Now, I'd really like to put all of this onto a dashboard. So I'll do that now. I'll pull in my sheets. Let's say I bring in the map here, my COVID states. We saw the distribution that's there and the debt to income ratios. And I'll also do a bit of formatting, maybe change this to automatic because it's more visible. And yeah, that's perfect. And what's even more powerful is for me to add a layer of interactivity onto my dashboard. The uses filter option allows me to do that so that I can maybe focus on a particular county or a region or even a certain profile of customers. For example, if I wanted to only look at California, I could select California and I have a distribution of my customers and the corresponding debt to income ratios. If I wanted to see the higher end of the distribution here, I could select those and have a look at where they have transacted, in which regions and branches they have transacted from. So there are multitude of possibilities in this regard. So having done this, now I'm really excited to share with the team. Now I've done all of this on my own without the help, without depending on my analysts, right? So I'll save this on the browser itself, and then I'll go ahead and share it with the team. So once I save this, I go back and go to the directory where I have all my sheets and the dashboard. And I can simply add a comment here. Let's say I bring in one of the lead analysts, and I simply have to tag his name. Yeah. Have a look at my analysis. Please provide suggestions. So once I have this in place, as long as the team has access to their mails, they're connected to the network, they're part of the site, they'll be notified. Now, before I move on to the next part, this is what Tom does right now. I'm stepping out of the role of Tom. So Tom shares his analysis with the team and requests for feedback and suggestions. To his knowledge, he has done a fair amount of self-service analytics on Tableau. So once he shares with the team, in comes Eva. Now Eva is a lead analyst of the bank, right? And she reports to Tom. So she gets a notification of his analysis in her mailbox, and she goes ahead and opens this up on her browser. So once this is done, I'm going to put myself in the shoes of Eva now, and she decides to download this workbook to have a better look at it. Okay. So we have multiple options here, and she downloads this in the form of a Tableau workbook. And once she's done that, she opens that right on her machine, and this is exactly what it is, right? This is what Tom had done previously. And interestingly enough, as she goes through the analysis that Tom has done, she finds that she could do even more to what Tom has done. For example, she wants to give a holistic picture of this map rather than having 3 different analysis. She wants to represent everything holistically on this map. So what she does is combine them, do a bit of formatting there. She brings in the cases, the COVID cases into the picture. She has a look at average cases, bring it on to the color shelf, and maybe do some edits with the colors as well. Yeah. And change the color here as well. Now you have 2 types of information available here. One is the loan balances, and the other is the COVID cases. And lastly, she combines both, right? So that you have a holistic view. Now, this is way better than having 3 visuals up there for a user to comprehend. Also, if Tom wanted to, after she shares it with Tom and the management, they could even go ahead and drill down to the counties, so that they understand where the concentration of the transaction and traction is with the bank, right? Now, this is a better picture. Rather than having 3 individual visits, having a holistic view of a single map enables a user to understand what's really happening behind the scenes. Now, moving on, Eva looks at the other analysis, and she has a look at the regional trend. This is good, but then she tries to play with it as well. She wants to give it more action, to make it more lively. So what she does is she brings in the day, or the date rather. Sorry about that. Okay, and she brings it down to a day level granularity. Does a bit of formatting here as well. And she decides to show the history of trails, right? So once she's done with that, everybody has a clear understanding of how the trend looks like. You can see how the trend of cases move across regions, and it's very clear that the northeast region is clearly the winner in terms of the worst affected region. So it is not. It doesn't look like it's going to come down anytime soon. And furthermore, Eva wants to give a forecast to this as well. So she goes to the analytics tab, brings in the forecast capabilities of Tableau. And if you have a look at that, Tom can even have a look at what to expect in the future with respect to the number of cases. Yeah. And what you see here is nothing but your confidence intervals. Okay. And lastly, what she wants to do is maybe change a bit of formatting here as well, because she wants to give a more visible and holistic view to the team. So maybe change do a bit of formatting there, increase the size. She's keeping the analysis intact, just making a little bit of formatting and changes. She'll choose a dual axis and keep the bar. That's great. Now this is more visual and this is more clear than the previous analysis, right? Now the point of showing this was to simply show you how two users with different roles are able to use Tableau and leverage the self-service analytics capabilities, right? And the features as well. Now, after having done this, Eva eventually shares this with the data science team as well. What they are really interested in is to come up with a model, a risk model that sort of predicts the risk score for a particular region. Now, if they were to do that, they would pull in the risk score data with, let's say, the loan balance, and they'll bring in the account information as well. Now, if you were to think about how a data scientist would look at this picture, he would want to look at a particular region per se. So he would bring out that region. Maybe look at the Northeast region because we saw that Northeast was the worst affected region among the others. Bringing in the information about the number of days a customer would take to repay the loan is also worth investigating. And obviously, we want to look at an average value. So we'll change this to an average. Yeah. And finally, being a data scientist, he or she would want to fit a model. And that's when your trend lines and regression models come into the picture. He could play around with the different types of models that are available. He could look at logarithmic, exponential, or polynomial models. These are regression models, and one would be really interested in understanding whether it's significant or not to build up a robust model. And in this case, it tells the user that around 60% of the variance is being explained by the model. He should also be cautious about the residuals. So these are things that the data science team would handle, unlike a user like Eva, who is an analyst. So after having done all these different kinds of analysis, finally Eva can publish this right back onto the server, right? And she will go to the server and publish this workbook, which later could be consumed by the rest of the team. And then it would look something like this after publishing, right? And this is a published dashboard. So from where Tom started, this is the final outcome after collaborating with the team. Now, this is an excellent case of team collaboration working together, solely because of the fact that you have an integrated platform where multiple users can come in, share their analysis, and work on the data that they have, and they have one single source of truth, right? So going back to our presentation, so if we were to revisit the last 10 to 15 minutes, we saw how Tom was able to address some of his questions on his own with without depending on his team. And thanks to Tableau's self-service analytics, with a few clicks and drag and drops, he was able to come up with an analysis which later he could share with the team, right? And furthermore, we saw how Eva played around with the data and adopted some tweaks and tricks that Tableau has and improved the analysis as well. She also got help from the data science team, which later on could build a robust model. So one key message that you could take away from this is that Tableau is for everybody, right from the senior management, middle management, analysts, data scientists, and even the IT. It's not simply restricted for a particular department, it's for everyone in the organization. Now, when we talk about COVID and what you saw in the last 20 minutes as part of the demo, remember I talked about how the organization's data was combined with the COVID data. Now, that was simply possible because we have readily available data, the COVID-19 data, uh, which is incorporated in the COVID-19 data hub, which is part of Tableau now. Now, Tableau enables and provides this data, which is updated daily. It's used to keep track of the pandemic, along with multiple trackers that we have. And as we are facing this unprecedented public health crisis, right, and data-driven decisions are even more important. It's even more important than ever to have these resources to answer critical questions that matter your organizations, and for people like Tom, like as we saw in the demo. And of course, this includes having access to timely, detailed, and trustworthy data to think quickly and move fast. So together with the Tableau community, Tableau has created a free data resource hub page that can help you see and understand the coronavirus data in near real time. And that, of course, helps in making more confident decisions, right? Now, before I go ahead and show you the other slides, I would really want you to have a look at the COVID hub that I'm talking about. Now, this is the COVID-19 data hub, which is on the Tableau portal. And here you could see that we have a global tracker. You could interact with the Wiz. You can understand how what the scenario is, right? We also have community visualizations, lots of them actually, and it's surprising how people have been leveraging Tableau to come up with these wonderful insights and dashboards. We also have multiple data tracks, the government, healthcare, and economy data tracks. If I were to give you an example of government data track, which I've opened here, you could have a look at the New York State Department of Health. Now, this is the same dashboard that they have on their site, which they consume. You could have a look at the number of cases, look at the map view. Now, all of this was possible only because of the fact that we have organizations are leveraging the COVID-19 data hub and the data out there. And many more examples to come. For example, if we were to look at reopening, right, reopening offices out there, just to give you some use cases, we looked at something very similar to this, right? Credit risk analysis for a bank. Now, if you were to look at how employees are staffed across multiple branches, you would want to know how many employees are there in a particular region where your where your bank operates. Now, this analysis exactly tells you that. It tells you how many employees are staffed across your regions, and depending on the level of urgency, whether it's essential or non-essential, and employee age demographics, you could conclude that you could arrive at a decision whether to reopen or not. One of the other interesting visualization that I stumbled upon was this floor plan. This is the existing floor plan, you could say, for an organization. And before reopening, the HR decides to understand how the seating and how the desks have been arranged. And this visualization actually helps the organization to understand what changes have to be done with respect to floor planning. What the examples that you see here is on Tableau Public. Now, Tableau Public is open for everybody. There are hundreds of visualizations out there addressing the COVID situation, and then I encourage everyone to go through them. Now, going back to my presentation. So we talked about the COVID-19 Data Hub. We also have starter dashboards. Now, Tableau's technology, technical experts, and the broader Tableau community are right there with the customers to serve as a source of truths for all the organizations out there as well. Now, what does Tableau exactly do? We covered this in the last session as well to help its customers, right? Tableau is mobilizing to help customers to use the data to take action and serve the communities. Now, this comes off as an initiative called Leading Through Change. A couple of things that Tableau is offering is the COVID-19 Data Hub that you just saw. And secondly, there is a free offer for e-learning. However, this is till the end of June. The third thing that Tableau is trying to help the customers with is give discount for certifications. You have as high as 50% off on desktop specialist certifications. And of course, for small businesses, there is a free licensing offer as well. This is something that you can take up with the account managers and have a discussion around it, right? And this is something, again, going back to emphasizing on the fact that upskilling yourself at this during this time is the best thing that you can do. And having said that, you have 50% off on certifications and free e-learning as well. So please go ahead and jumpstart your analysis. We have ready-made dashboards out there for different sections, so business, healthcare, and governments. And also not to forget, we have a lot of webinars, government summits. This will be, the details for the same is out there on Tableau Tableau portal, and you can be very well informed. Even if you aren't able to attend these will be recorded and will be available for you. So that was the gist of the demonstration that I wanted to do today. And there is one small request that I have. If you find this exciting enough, if you find that you can do something with Tableau, you found this webinar interesting. This came off as a joint request from Sarah as well. I think, Sarah, you're there on the call. You can please go ahead and tag me or Sarah. Whatever you see there is our LinkedIn profiles. You can post anything on this webinar. We'll share this with you in the follow-up mails as well. Yeah, I think that's it, and we can. Sarah, do you want to add something on that?
I know. I would just thank everyone for joining us today for the session. Appreciate your time and interest as well.
Sarah, we cannot hear you.
Sarah, I think you're breaking up.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think what Sarah is trying to say is that just go ahead if you want to post anything. We'll give you these links, LinkedIn addresses, and you can, if you want to, you can tag us, and it'll be fun. So I think we can move on to Q&A now. Is that fine, Ragda? Yeah, I hope I answered that. Yeah, that's it, Ragda. I think we don't have any more questions.
Okay. So thank you, Jerry. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day ahead. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Ragda. Thank you, Jerry. Thank you, all partners for attending this. And congrats again for the winners.